This is a broadcast of SmallCapVoice.com, a financial communications and investor relations firm. SmallCapVoice.com receives payment for investor relations and financial consulting services that it provides to its clients. You should assume that officers, directors, and employees of SmallCapVoice.com or financial analysts mentioned and their families hold a position and intend to trade in these securities for their own accounts. This is not an offer or recommendation to buy or sell securities. Information in this broadcast is presented solely for informative purposes and is not intended to be, nor should it be construed as, investment advice. As in all investments, an investment in the featured company carries an investment risk. Listeners should review the company thoroughly with a registered investment advisor or registered stockbroker. This broadcast does not purport to be a complete study of the featured company or other companies mentioned. Information used and statements of fact have been obtained from the featured company and other sources but not verified nor guaranteed by SmallCapVoice.com as to completeness or accuracy. Such information is subject to change without notice.
You're wired in. SmallCapVoice.com. Following is a presentation of SmallCapVoice.com, today's leader in investor relations, capital formation, and retail support. Now, with your online business briefing, SmallCapVoice.com's Stuart T. Smith.
Welcome one, welcome all to this online business briefing brought to you by SmallCapVoice.com. And as you just heard, I'm your host, Stuart Smith, and we're joined today by Vivakor Incorporated. The company's traded under the ticker symbol VIVK, and we're lucky enough to be speaking with the chairman and CEO for the company, Matt Nicosia. Matt, how are you today?
Doing very well, Stuart. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to stop by and speak with us here today at Small Cap Voice. Now, for our listeners who may not yet be familiar with your business model and market for Vivakor Incorporated, if you would, describe the company for us.
Perfect. Now, Vivakor is a asset acquisition company focusing on acquiring technologies and then applying them to natural resource bases. Currently, we've been focusing heavily on finding ways in which when we apply this asset to this technology, 1 + 1 becomes 5. That's the whole focus on what we're doing. And right now, we're focusing mainly on a technology we've acquired and developed that helps the extraction of precious metals, mainly your nano-sized particles, your micron-sized particles, the non-visible chloride metallics. And we've been able to take this technology and acquire 18, we'll call them precious metal patented claims, that have these specific types of metallics in them and put them into process and create value. Our goal is, with these natural resources, to maximize the shareholder value by creating a consistent long-term extraction cash flow by extracting these metals and other natural resources to create an extreme value per ton or cubic ton, whatever that might be. Our belief is that the true value in what we're creating is in these natural resource assets as we prove these technologies where they'll have a much higher yield than the competition. And that's our current focus around this company called Vivakor, this asset acquisition company.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Matt. Now let's learn a little bit about you as our guest. Tell us about your background and maybe any other key members of the management team there at Vivakor.
Sure. Well, I am the current chairman and CEO of the company. My background is in the past 5 years, I've been the chairman of Vivakor. We took the company public in 2008. And I have operated a couple other public companies from a board standpoint, but specifically focusing on areas of commercialization of technology. Previous to Vivakor, I was heavily involved in a company that commercialized a technology in the biotechnology sector, specifically focusing on dermatology products. I've also been a founder and a board member of a nanomaterial company that's been around for almost 12 years. And this company has done a phenomenal job in these nanoparticle extractions, which is where we get our science from in this extraction of these precious metals. I do have an MBA from Pepperdine, and there's some postgraduate work as well. And we've been very successful in attracting real key people to our company. We have as our executive vice president and director a gentleman named Lopez. Lou has a lot of industry background, specifically in the finance industry. Worked for J.P. Morgan in the investment banking side in the early 90s. has been very influential in taking very large sales teams to market, specifically in the technology sector, and as of recent has been heavily involved out in Southern California market in developing, we'll call them, new emerging companies in the technology sector. David Kovac is our Director of Finance. David Kovac is a former Blackstone Capital partner. He's also been heavily involved in a very large asset management team from the investment banking side. He does live in New York and manages our New York City office. His main role is to communicate to the investment community in Wall Street and help us build towards our ultimate goal of a larger uplist. We have a gentleman named Tyler Nelson. He's our certified public accountant. He's our chief financial officer. He also has a master's in accounting from the University of Chicago. We have a gentleman named Trent Staggs, who's also has an MBA, focuses on our technology acquisitions as an advisor, and specifically spends time on building the technology aspects to scale, taking them from a concept phase to a scale phase. We also have quite a bit international growth. We have a director of Asian acquisitions, Mr. Tom Lee. His main role and past experience is building very large sales teams and bringing certain products to market in Asia, as well as we have a gentleman in Brazil who heads up our Latin American assets. There's a lot of these precious metals and natural resource assets in both Asia and Brazil and Latin America. And his name is Yuri Fejeda. He's also runs a very large law firm and is our Director of Latin American Acquisitions for Vivakor. And that's the general aspect of the management as they help build these assets, both natural resource and technology, make that combination.
Well, Matt, it sounds like you have a terrific management team there, very diversified as well with their focuses within each member. That's terrific. Well, let's now talk about, here we are wrapping up the month of April in 2014. As you look back on the last 6 months or 12 months for Vivakor Incorporated, what would you say were some of the major milestones for the company?
Specifically in 2013, we had a lot of very important milestones that were achieved. First and foremost, what's most important when we acquire technologies, making sure that technology can become what's called scalable, where it's not just producible in a very small laboratory setting. We were successful last year, specifically in May of 2013. We finalized our first production prototype unit where we could process on a continual basis 1 to 3 tons of raw material on a daily basis. So we completed that machine, and that machine went into process, which is a very big key piece for the company. Additionally, we kept that consistent production throughout 2013 and till current, which is very important that we've been able to consistently extract on a daily basis metals. The third main point is that this specific division, because of technology in 2013, produced over $800,000 worth of metals. And in first part of 2014 produced over $500,000 worth of metals from this technology. And those are main big milestones for the company on proving that 1 + 1 is 5, meaning the asset and the technology combined are worth way more than they are individually. We did in 2013, just over 6 months ago, acquire 2 more claims. So we added our specific claim count from 16 to 18, which was a big piece as we were trying to make sure we could find other types of natural resource asset bases that actually fit and work with our technology. That was important. And we did complete a $5 million capital raise last year, obviously helping us to build these machines and acquire these sets of technology. And if we look at our financial statements, which we did analyze and we did put out in one of our press releases, we increased our cash position quarter over quarter all of last year. That's a big piece for a company in our realm, especially in the phase in which we're at, to always be increasing our cash positions. And we believe that goes to this point of our market sustainability, which as we continue to take this company and monetize these assets, will only prove the strength of the stock and the strength of the company. So those are our main key things which we've accomplished, I would say, in the past 6 to 12 months here at Vivakor.
Well, now looking into your crystal ball, what do you see as your personal goals for the company in the remainder of 2014 and beyond?
Thank you. Well, 2014 is also going to be another key pivotal year as we take the technologies and take them to the next phase. So there's laboratory setting, there's production prototype, and then there's what's called scale. Our first scalable machine, meaning a machine that doesn't do 1 to 3 tons a day, but a machine that has the potential to do 10 to 20 tons of processed material on a daily basis, comes out this May of 2014. That's a very, very large, pivotal, important event for us. It does quite a few things which allow us to make a big impact on, obviously, our market cap or the value of the company and the value of these individual assets, because it allows us to then create a value in the claims in which we've acquired, because now we're producing at scale. And then the next point of that would be proving that in consistent production at scale over a period of time, which will then ultimately result in being able to take these claims that we have and prove out of the reserve, the precious metal reserve, with the technology. It's very important not just to produce one day here, one day another time frame. It's called consistent production to prove out a precious metal reserve with this specific new technology. We've been able to consistently do it throughout last year up until current on 1 to 3 tons a day. Now being able to go to 10 to 20 tons a day is a very large milestone, which gives us two main reflections, obviously in cash positions of the company, but more importantly as well as the validation of the reserve, of this precious metal reserve. Additionally, we plan on, once that is done in May, we've gone through the Q&A period or the quality assurance and making sure that we've fine-tuned the machine and got the most efficiencies. We plan to produce 2 more of those machines this year. So by the end of the year, we could significantly, between 10 to, we'll call it 30 times, increase our current production, which would significantly impact the value of the company. As we continue to push this technology to the forefront, there's other side technologies that help maximize what we're doing, which we're looking to develop and or acquire. And we want to acquire other ore bodies that fit our specific technology. Not every single ore body, meaning ore, just another fancy word for dirt, will work for our technology. We have to find specific types of precious metal, chloride, metallic ore bases. And when we find those, we want to make sure that we maximize and acquire those. And our goal this year is to pick up a couple more of those in other areas to show that there's some more diversification in asset holdings. And that's one of our goals for this year. We do have a couple other assets that we expect to have major milestones this year. Our Vivaceuticals asset, our biotechnology asset, we first came out and built the company with. We announced previously this year that it's in the process of being acquired and into a new public company with a couple other companies. We plan for that to happen this year. That's a big milestone for the company as well. And as we take these assets from laboratory to prototype to scale production, specifically the precious metal assets, our balance sheet should increase significantly in value, and the ultimate result for the company, our main goal by the end of this year, or at least be in the process, if not completed, uplist to a larger exchange by the end of 2014. That is the vision of what we would like to accomplish this year at Vivakor.
Listeners, once again, we are speaking with Matt Nicosia. He is the chairman and CEO of Vivakor Incorporated, ticker symbol VIVK. Well, Matt, much of what you've talked about has also come out on the press wire. So, listeners, I want to point out to you the PRs, and we're going to talk about a couple of them now. But if you look back on the company's press releases throughout February, March, and April, some tremendous news releases hitting the wire. Vivakor nominated as Junior Miner of the Year. That came out on February 18th. But let's talk about some of these more recent ones that have to do with the metals production as well as the year-end results, which you did touch on earlier. But let's go to April 17th. Vivakor exceeds expectations on metals production for Q1 2014 from metals division. Matt, what do you see as some of the drivers for these numbers here in your metal productions exceeding expectations?
Specifically, the driver for exceeding what we had projected for the production expectations of this division has to do with fine-tuning the technology to get a higher yield in extraction. As we continue to improve upon the technology, we are not getting all of the metals out of these tonnage. And we believe that as we continue to increase on our efficiencies and fine-tune and perfect the technology, which may take us years to come, we plan to have even higher numbers in a processed per ton yield. That is what specifically resulted in Q1 from fine-tuning the technology as we're prepping ourselves for the larger machine. We've been able to figure out some important pieces which have increased that yield, which is significant, especially where the cost to process a ton of material costs the same no matter what's in it. So our ability to fine-tune it doesn't increase our costs, but it does increase our yield. And that is a significant piece, specifically as you're talking about precious metals and commodities.
Well, out on March 27th, Vivakor announces Q4 and year-end results for fiscal 2013. Matt, as you pointed out, the company continues to build a firm foundation for which to grow upon. Speaking of drivers, again, seeing that I think you talked about and touched earlier, that, one of the big drivers for the company is creating cash quarter to quarter. Talk to me about some of the other results that you can take away from when looking at your year-end results.
A couple key pieces when looking at year-end results, obviously from a company in our phase, is cash positions, but also your liabilities. We've significantly reduced our current liabilities. And according to our financials, our current liabilities are very, very low, which with good cash positions allows for the market and what we feel from a management standpoint, some comfort level in the sustainability of the company to meet its requirements, its required debts, and also its required liabilities, whether they be payments and so forth. Another key piece is the increase on a quarter basis of the assets. So we continue to see our total assets increased, meaning the amount of assets that we're acquiring and the value of those assets continue to increase. Secondarily was shareholder equity. Our goal is to be able to uplist to a large exchange, we have to have certain requirements and minimums with shareholder equity. Our goal is to continue the trend to go towards positive shareholder equity, which we have already accomplished, and increase that to have significant shareholder equity to meet the requirements for an uplist. Additionally, the production is going to continue to increase. Those precious metal productions, which are assets, which currently are not booked on the financials of the company, and that will come to fruition very shortly. As that continues to increase, that's going to affect the financials significantly. And those are the milestones which we did accomplish and will continue to accomplish because this technology applied to this natural resource base, this specific asset resource base we're currently processing on, does allow us to have a very large multiple on our return.
Well, listeners, I'd like you to learn more about Vivakor, and it's really easy to do so because their website is Vivakor.com. That's Vivakor.com. Their web address, just as easy, IRPR@Vivakor.com. The contact phone number for the company is 949-281-2606. Well, Matt, thank you so much for your personal insight into your exciting young company. We expect great things from you and your company here in 2014 and beyond. We'd love to check in with you again, Matt. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much, Stuart, and appreciate Small Cap Voice.
You bet. For Matt Nicosia, this is Stuart Smith saying thanks so much for listening.
SmallCapVoice.com, today's leader in investor relations, capital formation, and retail support, provides its clients with the highest level of service. Our audio interviews are disseminated to one of the largest opt-in audiences available today. How? We at SmallCapVoice.com believe in aligning and affiliating ourselves with other leaders within the investor relations community. By sharing resources, each affiliated firm is made that much stronger and each client is served that much better. Our focus is to identify and provide the very best financial services and solutions available to clients and their shareholders. For more information about our services, please call us at 512-267-2430 or visit us on the web at www.smallcapvoice.com.